Scientists are quietly reverse engineering the diets of Japan's oldest people, and what they're finding blows everything we thought we knew about aging out of the water. Not supplements, not detox teas, plants. Ancient, ordinary plants that Japanese grandmothers have been putting on the table for 1,000 years. Plants that could be adding years to your life. Japan has been running the greatest longevity experiment in human history. The results are in. Okinawa has more people living past 100 than almost anywhere on the planet. And they're not just alive, they're sharp, active, gardening into their 90s. Today I'm giving you 15 Japanese superfoods at the heart of that extraordinary health, and almost all of them can be grown in your own backyard. If you're new here, welcome to Backyard Homestead Company. Hit subscribe so you never miss a video. Stick around, because plant number 9 is what Harvard-affiliated researchers are calling one of the most promising natural compounds for brain aging ever studied. And plant number 15 is what the longest living community on Earth eats every single day. And you can start growing it in a pot this weekend. Let's get into it. If this opened your eyes, hit like and subscribe. We drop new plant wisdom every week. Drop a comment below. Which of these 15 are you growing first? Plant 1. Kametsuna. The forgotten green that outperforms kale. Let's start with a plant that almost nobody in the West has heard of, and that's exactly why it belongs at the top of this list. Kametsuna, Brassica rapavar. Perviritus, is a leafy green that looks a little like spinach, tastes like a mild mustard green, and has been a staple of Japanese home cooking for centuries. You'll find it sautéed, pickled, added to miso soup, or eaten raw in salads. It is utterly unremarkable in appearance, and it is absolutely extraordinary in what it does to your body. Here's what most people don't know. Kametsuna contains more calcium per gram than milk. It's loaded with beta-carotene, vitamin K, iron, and a group of compounds called glucosinolates that research has linked to reduced cancer risk and powerful anti-inflammatory effects. Studies on cruciferous vegetables, and Kametsuna is firmly in that family, show consistent associations with lower rates of cardiovascular disease, certain cancers, and age-related cognitive decline. In Japan, this green has never needed a rebrand or a marketing campaign. It just quietly showed up on plates, season after season, doing its job. And here's the gardening angle that makes this even better. Kametsuna is one of the fastest growing vegetables you can plant. It's ready to harvest in as little as 40 days, tolerates both heat and frost, and can be grown in containers on a patio or balcony. In Japan, home gardeners grow multiple successions throughout the year, giving them a continuous supply of one of the most nutrient-dense greens on the planet. Kametsuna is the green that kale wishes it was, and it's been quietly keeping Japan healthy while the rest of the world was distracted. Plant 2. Lotus root. The ancient root that feeds your immune system. Lotus root has been eaten across Asia for over 2,000 years, and in Japan it holds a special place both in the kitchen and in traditional medicine. Sliced into discs with its beautiful lacy holes, it's braised, pickled, stir-fried, and simmered in soups. But this isn't just a pretty vegetable. Nelumbo nucifera, the lotus plant, produces roots that are extraordinarily rich in vitamin C, vitamin B6, potassium, and dietary fiber. But what researchers are getting genuinely excited about are its polyphenol. Studies have found that lotus root contains compounds with significant antioxidant and immune-modulating effects. Research published in peer-reviewed journals has demonstrated that lotus root extracts have anti-inflammatory properties that may protect against the kind of chronic, low-grade inflammation that drives most age-related disease. Traditional Japanese medicine used lotus root specifically for respiratory health and as a general tonic for vitality. Modern immunology is giving those traditional claims some serious scientific weight. Here's what makes this fascinating for home gardeners. Lotus grows in water, in containers, in small ponds, even in large tubs on a patio. It's a dramatic, beautiful plant. The flowers alone are breathtaking. But underneath the surface, those roots are developing into one of the most nutrient-dense vegetables you'll ever pull from your own garden. Lotus root is the plant that's been feeding immune systems across Asia for 2 millennia. The science is just now catching up to what Japanese gardeners have always known. Plant 3. Taro, the root that's been sustaining life for 10,000 years. Taro, Colocasia esculenta, is one of the oldest cultivated plants on Earth. It's been grown for food for an estimated 10,000 years. And in Japan, particularly in Okinawa, taro is not a side dish. It's a cornerstone. Here's what makes taro remarkable from a longevity perspective. It has one of the lowest glycemic indices of any starchy vegetable. That means it doesn't spike your blood sugar the way potatoes or white rice do. It delivers slow, sustained energy, exactly the kind that keeps your metabolic system stable and your inflammation levels low over decades. Taro is also rich in resistant starch, which functions as a powerful prebiotic, feeding the beneficial bacteria in your gut that research increasingly links to everything from immune function to brain health to how fast you actually age at a cellular level. Studies on gut microbiome diversity consistently show that populations with higher fiber and resistant starch intake have measurably younger biological markers. In Japan, taro, called satoimo, is a fixture in traditional New Year's dishes and everyday home cooking. It's comfort food with a nutritional profile that modern science deeply respects. And the growing angle? Taro thrives in warm, humid climates and can be grown in large containers with consistent moisture. In tropical and subtropical regions, it produces abundantly with minimal care. One plant produces multiple corms that can be harvested, stored, and replanted. Taro has sustained human life for 10,000 years for a reason. It knows how to feed a body built to last. Plant 4. Chrysanthemum greens, shungiku, the flower that protects your brain. In the West, chrysanthemums sit in vases. In Japan, they go on the dinner table. And that distinction might matter more than you think. Shungiku, edible chrysanthemum, Glebiones coronaria, is used throughout Japan in hot pots, soups, and stir-fries. The greens have a distinctive, slightly bitter, herbaceous flavor. They're beautiful, and they have a nutritional profile that researchers studying brain aging are paying close attention to. Shungiku is rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, carotenoids that accumulate specifically in the retina and in brain tissue. Study after study links high dietary intake of these compounds to reduced risk of age-related macular degeneration and to better cognitive performance in older adults. These aren't vague correlations. The mechanism is understood. Lutein and zeaxanthin protect neural tissue from oxidative damage, the exact kind of damage that accumulates over decades and eventually shows up as cognitive decline. Beyond that, shungiku contains chlorogenic acids and flavonoids that have demonstrated neuroprotective effects in research settings. Scientists studying Alzheimer's prevention are specifically interested in these plant compounds. For home gardeners, shungiku is an absolute gift. It grows quickly in cool weather, tolerates light frost, and can be harvested multiple times from a single planting. It self-seeds readily. Once you plant it, it tends to keep coming back. The Japanese have been eating chrysanthemum greens for generations. And modern neuroscience is now explaining exactly why that was such a profoundly good idea. Plant 5. Burdock tea, gobo cha. The ancient detox drink backed by science. You may have heard of gobo root, burdock, as a food. But in Japan, burdock is also consumed as a tea. And that preparation unlocks a completely different set of benefits that are getting serious attention from researchers studying metabolic health and cellular aging. Archaeum lapa, burdock, contains a compound called arctigenin that studies have shown has remarkable effects at the cellular level. Research published in peer-reviewed journals has investigated arctigenin for its potential to support healthy inflammatory responses and to influence the pathways that regulate cellular aging and metabolic function. The results are generating real excitement in the scientific community. Burdock tea also delivers inulin, the same prebiotic fiber that makes the whole root valuable for gut health, along with polyphenol that protect against oxidative stress. Traditional Japanese practitioners specifically recommended burdock tea for what they called blood purification. In modern terms, we translate that to liver support, improved detoxification, and reduced inflammatory load. And here's the thing. Burdock is one of the most satisfying plants to grow in a home garden. The roots can reach 3 feet long in loose, deeply worked soil. The leaves are enormous and dramatic. Pulling a full-grown burdock root from the earth is genuinely thrilling. And once you have the root, you can slice it, dry it, and brew your own longevity tea anytime you want. Burdock tea is the ancient detox drink that Japanese healers prescribed for centuries. And the science says they were onto something real. Plant 6. Perilla seeds, Igoma. The omega-3 powerhouse Japan has been hiding. Most people know perilla, shiso, as a leaf. But the seeds of a closely related plant, Igoma, Perilla frutescens, are one of the most extraordinary omega-3 sources in the plant kingdom. And almost nobody outside of Japan and Korea knows they exist. Igoma seeds contain one of the highest concentrations of alpha-linolenic acid, the plant-based omega-3 fatty acid, of any food on Earth. We're talking about levels that rival or exceed flaxseed, which has long been celebrated as the gold standard for plant omega-3s. Why does this matter for aging? Omega-3 fatty acids are fundamental to every cell membrane in your body. They regulate inflammation, support brain function, protect cardiovascular health, and influence the very pace at which your cells age. Populations with consistently high omega-3 intake show lower rates of heart disease, depression, cognitive decline, and all-cause mortality. In Japan, Igoma oil has been used for centuries, in cooking, in traditional medicine, and as a lamp oil before that. Today, it's making a quiet comeback as researchers study its impressive nutritional profile. Igoma is easy to grow. It's closely related to shiso and grows just as vigorously. A warm season annual that self-seeds readily and produces abundant seed heads by late summer. You press or grind the seeds for oil or use them whole in cooking and salads. Igoma is the omega-3 superfood that Japan has been using for 1,000 years while the rest of the world was paying a premium for fish oil capsules. Plant 7. Mitsuba, Japan's 3-leaf herb that fights inflammation. Mitsuba, Japanese wild parsley, Cryptotaenia japonica, is one of those plants that's deeply woven into Japanese culinary culture and almost completely invisible everywhere else. It grows wild in forest clearings, and it's cultivated in home gardens across the country. The delicate 3-lobed leaves are used as a garnish in soups, as a fresh herb in egg dishes, and floated in ceremonial broths. But Mitsuba is far more than a garnish. Research on the compounds found in Cryptotaenia japonica shows genuine antioxidant and anti-inflammatory activity. The plant contains unique volatile oils and flavonoids that traditional Japanese herbalism used specifically to support respiratory and digestive health. Modern phytochemical analysis is revealing why those traditional applications made sense, The bioactive compounds in mitsuba interact with inflammatory pathways in ways that are consistent with its historical use. Here's what makes mitsuba exceptional for home gardeners. It is one of the few edible herbs that actually prefers shade. Full shade. That difficult corner of your garden where nothing else will grow? Mitsuba will thrive there. It's a perennial in mild climates, and it self-seeds so readily that once you establish a patch, you'll have it forever. Mitsuba asks for nothing and gives you a continuous supply of a genuinely medicinal herb that most of the Western world has never tasted. That is the quiet magic of Japanese plant wisdom. It doesn't need to announce itself. It just works. Plant 8, Yuzu Kosho. The fermented citrus paste, that's a probiotic balm. You've probably heard of yuzu, Japan's extraordinary citrus with 3 times the vitamin C of lemons. But Yuzu Kosho takes that already remarkable fruit and transforms it through fermentation into something that operates on a completely different level of nutritional complexity. Yuzu Kosho is made by fermenting fresh yuzu peel with green or red chili peppers and salt. The result is a fiery, fragrant paste that's used throughout Japan as a condiment, stirred into nabe hot pots, spread on grilled meats and fish, mixed into soups. It's intensely aromatic. A tiny amount transforms an entire dish. But from a health perspective, what matters is this. The fermentation process that creates yuzu kosho produces bioactive compounds, enzymes, organic acids, and probiotic microorganisms that support gut health in ways that fresh yuzu alone cannot. Research on fermented foods consistently shows they improve gut microbiome diversity, enhance immune function, and reduce systemic inflammation. Japanese diets are full of fermented foods, and researchers studying Japanese longevity specifically highlight this as a key dietary pattern. The citrus compounds in yuzu, its unique flavonoids and limonoids, remain active through the fermentation process, adding antioxidant and anti-inflammatory power to the probiotic benefits. If you grow yuzu in your garden, and we've talked before about how surprisingly cold-hardy it is for a citrus, you can make yuzu kosho at home with minimal equipment. It's a preservation tradition that Japanese households have maintained for generations. Yuzu kosho is what happens when Japan's greatest citrus meets the science of fermentation. The result is a condiment that's quietly doing extraordinary things for the people who eat it. Plant 9, Japanese knotweed. The invasive plant that's a longevity molecule factory. I need to acknowledge something up front. Japanese knotweed, Rhianutria japonica, is considered an invasive species in many parts of the world, and for good reason. It spreads aggressively and can damage infrastructure. You need to manage it carefully and responsibly. But here's what the scientific community is saying about this plant, and it's genuinely stunning. Japanese knotweed is the single richest known plant source of resveratrol on Earth. Not grapes, not wine, knotweed, and resveratrol, if you haven't been following the longevity research, is the compound that Harvard-affiliated researchers and others at the cutting edge of aging science have identified as one of the most promising natural activators of sirtuins, proteins that regulate cellular repair, inflammation, DNA maintenance, and the fundamental pace of biological aging. Studies published in leading journals have investigated resveratrol's ability to activate the same longevity pathways that caloric restriction activates, extending healthy lifespan in multiple organisms. Human clinical trials are ongoing. The research is serious, it is substantial, and it centers on a molecule that Japanese knotweed produces in extraordinary quantities. In Japan, young knotweed shoots have been eaten as a spring vegetable, called itadori, for centuries. Boiled and seasoned, they're a seasonal delicacy. Traditional Japanese medicine used itadori for inflammation and as a general health tonic. Modern longevity science is discovering exactly why. If you grow it in containers. Control it. But understand that this plant, the one your neighbors may be fighting to remove from their fence line, is producing one of the most studied anti-aging molecules in the world. In enormous amounts. Japanese knotweed is the plant the world is trying to kill that might, ironically, hold part of the key to living longer. Plant 10, Myoga ginger, the shade lover that fights chronic inflammation. Myoga, Zingiber myoga, is ginger's lesser-known Japanese cousin, and it operates in the shadows. Literally, it grows in deep shade, which makes it one of the most useful plants you can add to a difficult garden spot. The flower buds and young shoots are sliced thin and used as a garnish in Japan, in cold noodle dishes, on tofu, in miso soup. The flavor is crisp, mildly spicy, and floral in a way that regular ginger never quite achieves. Research on myoga shows it contains a distinct set of anti-inflammatory and antioxidant compounds, different from those in regular ginger, but with similar mechanisms of action. Studies on the phytochemical profile of Zingiber myoga have identified compounds with genuine biological activity against inflammatory pathways. In traditional Japanese medicine, myoga was used to clear the head, support digestion, and increase vitality. Here is the gardening gift that myoga offers. It is a perennial. You plant it once in a shady corner, and it comes back every single year, spreading slowly into a lush clump, requiring almost no attention. The harvest is the flower buds, which emerge from the base of the plant in late summer. A brief, beautiful seasonal harvest that Japanese cooks look forward to all year. Myoga proves something important about Japanese plant culture. They didn't just use the plants that grow in full sun and ideal conditions. They found the healing plants that thrive in the difficult places. And they built those plants into their daily lives so quietly that nobody outside Japan even noticed. Plant 11, Soba, buckwheat, the grain that protects your cardiovascular system. Soba noodles are one of Japan's most iconic foods. Thin, nutty, deeply satisfying. But the buckwheat plant they come from, Fagopyrum esculentum, is something that most people growing their own food have never considered. And that's a significant oversight. Buckwheat is one of the richest plant sources of rutin, a flavonoid that research has shown has remarkable effects on cardiovascular health. Rutin strengthens capillary walls, reduces blood vessel permeability, and has potent antioxidant effects. Clinical studies have investigated rutin for its ability to support healthy blood pressure, improve circulation, and reduce inflammatory markers associated with cardiovascular disease. Buckwheat also contains D-choroinositol, a compound studied for its ability to support healthy insulin signaling and blood sugar regulation. Given that metabolic dysfunction is now understood to be one of the primary drivers of accelerated aging, this is not a minor benefit. Traditional Japanese culture treats soba as health food, not just noodles. There's a reason Japanese people eat tashikoshi soba, year-crossing soba, on New Year's Eve. The tradition reflects a deeply held understanding of this grain's role in sustaining health and longevity. Buckwheat is one of the easiest grains to grow at home. It thrives in poor soil, needs no fertilizer, produces in about 70 days, and fixes the soil for whatever you plant next. The flowers are a magnet for pollinators, and the seeds, once dried, give you the foundation for one of the healthiest grain foods on earth. Soba isn't just Japan's favorite noodle. It's a cardiovascular protecting, blood sugar stabilizing, inflammation-fighting grain that you can grow in your own garden from seed to harvest in a single season. Plant 12, Japanese parsley, seri, the the wild green that supports liver health. Seri, Japanese parsley, Inanth javanica, grows wild along streams and in wet areas across Japan. It's one of the 7 spring herbs that Japanese tradition prescribes eating on January 7th in a rice porridge called nanakusugeyo, a ritual meal specifically intended to support health and longevity in the coming year. The fact that seri has been ritually prescribed as a health food for hundreds of years is interesting. What modern phytochemistry is finding about it is genuinely exciting. Seri contains a unique profile of flavonoids and phenolic compounds that studies have linked to liver protective effects. Research has shown that compounds in Inanth javanica can support hepatocyte function, that's liver cell function, and reduce markers of liver stress. In a world where the liver is constantly processing environmental toxins, medications, processed foods, and alcohol, liver protective plants are among the most valuable things you can grow. Seri also delivers significant vitamin C, beta-carotene, and iron in highly bioavailable forms. For home gardeners with a damp area, a low spot in the yard, a container that stays consistently moist, the edge of a pond, seri is a natural fit. It's a perennial that spreads readily in wet conditions, giving you a continuous harvest of a plant that Japanese tradition has prescribed as medicine for centuries. When an entire culture ritually eats a specific plant for health on the first week of every new year, for hundreds of years, that's not superstition. That's accumulated observational data, and the science is confirming it. Plant 13, Japanese mugwort, yamogi : the digestive herb in every Japanese kitchen. Yamogi, Japanese mugwort, Artemisia princeps, is everywhere in Japan. It's the green that colors mochi rice cakes in spring. It's brewed as tea. It's used in traditional moxibustion therapy. It grows wild along roadsides and is cultivated in home gardens. It has been part of Japanese food and medicine culture for as long as written records exist. Modern research is revealing a rich pharmacological profile behind this ancient herb. Yamogi contains eucalyptol, camphor, and a range of sesquiterpene lactones that have demonstrated anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and antimicrobial properties in research settings. Studies have also investigated compounds in Artemisia princeps for their effects on digestive function, supporting bile production, reducing gastric inflammation, and promoting healthy gut motility. The digestive connection is critical for longevity. A body that digests efficiently absorbs more nutrients, produces less inflammatory byproduct, and maintains a healthier gut microbiome. Cultures that prioritize digestive herbs, and traditional Japanese culture absolutely does, are building longevity from the gut up. Yamogi is a vigorous perennial that spreads readily and can become aggressive in ideal conditions. Grow it in containers if you want to control the spread. It tolerates poor soil, full sun, and drought once established. And it gives you a continuous supply of one of Japan's most ancient and versatile medicinal plants. Yamogi is the herb that's been in Japanese kitchens and medicine cabinets for 1,000 years. And it turns out there were very good reasons for that. Plant 14, Kinome, Sancho pepper shoots, the tiny leaf with massive circulatory benefits. Kinome are the young spring leaves of the Sancho pepper tree, Xanthoxylum piperidum, and they are one of the most prized seasonal ingredients in Japanese cuisine. Finely chopped or used whole as a garnish, Kinome has a flavor unlike anything else on earth. A bright, herbaceous, slightly numbing, intensely aromatic experience. In Japan, the arrival of Kinome in spring is a culinary event. But beyond the flavor, which is extraordinary, Kinome contains sanchul, the compound responsible for its unique tingling sensation, along with a rich profile of essential oils, alkaloids, and antioxidants. Research on Xanthoxylum species has found compounds with significant anti-inflammatory effects, and this is where it gets genuinely interesting: potential circulatory benefits. The essential compounds appear to interact with ion channels in ways that may support healthy blood flow and nerve function. Traditional Japanese and Chinese medicine specifically used sansho for circulatory support, digestive health, and what practitioners called warming the body, promoting circulation to the extremities. Modern vascular research is providing mechanisms that explain why those traditional observations were accurate. Sansho pepper is a beautiful deciduous shrub that can be grown in temperate home gardens. It needs some space and patience. It takes a few years to establish, but once it does, it provides decades of spring harvests. The berries themselves are also used as a spice, giving you two distinct harvests from one plant. Kinome is the seasonal ingredient that Japanese chefs treat as precious, and it turns out the circulatory and anti-inflammatory compounds inside those tiny leaves give them every reason to. Plant 15. Ashitaba, the longevity leaf that scientists are racing to understand. And here we are. Plant 15, the one I saved for last. Because Ashitaba, Angelica kaiskai, is the plant that traditional Japanese culture has revered for centuries for longevity, that grows on a remote island famous for its centenarians, and that scientists are now studying with the urgency reserved for genuine breakthroughs. The name says everything. Ashitaba means tomorrow's leaf. You harvest one today, a new one grows back tomorrow. And that regenerative quality is a clue to what this plant does inside your body. Ashitaba contains chalcones, specifically 4,4-foot dimethoxychalcone, studied in some of the most respected scientific journals on the planet. Researchers found this compound promotes autophagy, your body's cellular cleanup process that clears damaged proteins and cellular debris. Autophagy declines with age. Supporting it naturally is one of the hottest areas in anti-aging research right now. Scientists studying how to slow human aging are looking at a compound found in a plant that islanders on Hakajajima have been eating for centuries. The people of that island are known throughout Japan for exceptional health and longevity. That is not a coincidence. Ashitaba grows as a vigorous perennial in mild climates. Partial shade, ordinary soil, minimal effort, and it keeps coming back season after season, just like the name promises. Most people have never heard of it, but you could be growing it in a pot on your patio right now, years before the rest of the world catches up. Tomorrow's leaf. And the research says it might help make sure you're here to see many more tomorrows than you expected. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, you've just learned something that most people, even most health enthusiasts, don't know. Japan's extraordinary longevity isn't a mystery. It's a garden. These 15 plants aren't folklore. They're not trends. They're the foods that real people eat every day in one of the healthiest, longest-living nations on Earth. And almost all of them can be growing in your own backyard. So here's what I want you to do right now. Smash that like button if this video changed the way you think about what a home garden can actually do for your health. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these 15 plants surprised you the most? Are you Team Ashitaba and knotweed, the cutting-edge longevity plants? Team Kametsuna and seri, the ancient everyday greens? Or are you going all in on igoma and soba for the metabolic benefits? I read every single comment, and I genuinely love hearing from this community. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Every week we go deep on the most powerful plants on the planet and show you exactly how to grow them yourself. Remember, the most powerful medicine isn't in a pharmacy. Sometimes it's in a seed catalog, a shady corner of your garden, or a pot on your patio. Japan has known this for 1,000 years. Now you know it too. Start growing. Your future self will thank you.